Perfect. We're rolling. Keith, thanks for taking the time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Bobby. Anything for you, my man.
So you had a bit of a rough week up in old Montucky, up in the woods up there, huh? What kind of happened with the elk hunt for you? I know you said you took a little bit of time off and just didn't end up going the way you kind of wanted it to with your buddy.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what elk hunting is just hiking with a bow and until you get lucky. So we happened to not get lucky. So yeah, we took like a week off of work and hiked our butts up and down every mountain range in Montana, calling, waking up the woods, and yeah, we didn't get anything to go down, but that's bow hunting, that's elk hunting. That's kind of the way you do it though. You know, it's the process, everything that goes into it is kind of what keeps you coming back. You know, if you were just out being successful every time, everyone would do it and it would be easy. So it's kind of what keeps me coming back. So hopefully we still got some time. So hopefully get it done here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see.
Now, what kind of got you into hunting and photography and film and media and kind of where did that, have you always kind of had a passion for that, or did it kind of, when did that come about for you?
Oh man, it's kind of always really been into it. I mean, I've been carrying a camera around since I was a little kid. I mean, I'm talking a little 10-year-old running around with a little the mini DV tapes. I had a VHS camera, all the above. But really what got me into it was skiing. So, I mean, this can kind of relate to your some of your audience in that fact. You know, growing up in Bozeman, Montana, it's obviously a ski town. And my dad worked at the local ski area, Bridger Bowl, my whole life. And I was always been obsessed with ski movies, ski videos, anything that was action sports and involved a camera. I obviously wasn't as good as a skier as a lot of my buddies, so it was kind of like that was my next step, was to carry the camera around and chase them around. That was kind of my way to be in the crew. And so starting off as a little kid, I was, you know, I'd see all these old TGR ski films and Poor Boy ski films, Level 1 films, and this and that, and I was just so drawn to the idea that you could go out and capture all this and put it together at the end of the year and then showcase like what had gone down. And so as like a little 10-year-old, I was a crappy skier, but our next it's kind of a funny story. Our next best thing was, I don't know if you remember or if you did this when you were a kid, like during recess, you do like flips and stuff out of the swings and like doing tricks out of the swings. Yeah. So all my buddies were 9, 10 years old. We obviously aren't that great of skiers enough to go and make a ski video. So we were out flipping out of swing sets and doing all these tricks out of swing sets. And we were filming it like a ski movie. And like we each had like segments and we'd all choose our song to it. And dude, I probably made my first like film thing. It was a swing film of us doing tricks out of a swing set. So I was like 10 years old. So that was my first one. And obviously it's kind of grown since then.
Do you still have it? Do you still have the original? I would love to bust that out over a few beers.
It'd be so embarrassing, but I still have it, and it's kind of funny to look back and see how far we've come. But yeah.
So did your dad put your camera in your hands, or what? Because I mean, that's interesting. Like that young. I mean, I don't remember ever being like, oh, I don't know. I guess when you're little, it's not something I was really thinking about. Like, ooh, I need to take a picture of this, and it wasn't easily like as accessible. Now you like have your phone, so if you want to take a picture of something, you can. But like back then, it was like an extra thing that you had to carry around, and it was usually like expensive. My parents would definitely not be giving me a camera at 10, 11, you know, even if it's a crappy one, because I would probably break it pretty easily.
Yeah.
So what was it? What was his dad was like? He'll be all right with it. He'll know what to do and kind of point.
No, I would basically just steal the family VHS camera.
Okay, there it is.
So like you have the big old VHS tape cameras that are like this big.
Yeah.
For home videos, Christmas, birthdays, this and that. I would just go steal that and run around with my buddies. And I'd come back and like hide in my room with my computer and download whatever video. I think the first video editing software I used, it was Roxio Video Wave, which I doubt they still even make it. I mean, this was like early 2000s. And so, I was stealing these VHS tapes and out filming with my buddies and then ripping it off the tapes onto the computer and then LimeWire and music and
Right, getting everything in
and
there.
editing it together. Yeah, but no, my dad always he always had a film camera around, carrying around a film camera, and that's kind of what also helped kind of light that fire, seeing kind of some of the old photos and stuff that he would take out skiing and on some of his old hunting, hiking, ski adventures, stuff like that. And he was hauling this little film camera up there and you know, doing the typical picture of his line before he drops in and this and that. And he's like, oh, check out this range. Oh, we were out with my buddies. We hunted this. We did this. Oh, I skied that line, this and that. I was like, wow, that's so cool. You took a picture of that?
Yeah.
And then, yeah. So, yeah, he always was kind of a creative dude. Same thing with my mom. My mom was always kind of like filming family events, baseball games, football games, stuff like that, and was always kind of running around with the camera. And I was just kind of like, well, maybe if I take this camera and I run around with my buddies, we could do something cool with it. So,
right. So running around with them, I mean, how did you know that you always kind of wanted to do something with film kind of after it's just kind of early on? I mean, it sounds like you kind of had an idea. I mean, you went to school for, you played baseball at Minot State and you went in video production, right?
Yep. So I got a broadcast production degree at Minot State. It was the closest thing to a film degree that was there, but really I went to college for baseball. That's what people ask me, well, what'd you major in college? I said I majored in baseball. Because really, like you said, like I've really been doing this since I was, you know, really young, and it's always kind of something I've had a passion for and always thought it's something I wanted to do. And it's kind of funny to see it come full circle from being a little kid, filming my buddies do backflips out of swing sets to doing what I am today, carrying around $40,000 cinema cameras.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been something that I've wanted to do, and it's always been a huge passion of mine and still is.
After you finished up baseball, how, you know, college is done and no career in the majors, you know, that's all right. That happens sometimes. Not everybody gets there, right?
Nope.
95%. Yeah, same in my sport. I didn't get there. It happens. You have to move on with life, right?
I'm not 6'4", 225, and in Montana it snows every month of the year, so we didn't have wasn't necessarily the best baseball state per se, but I took it as far as I could. But yeah, I mean, baseball is obviously a huge part of my life, and I was kind of a baseball robot from 12 years old, being, you know, travel teams, Team Montana, traveling all around. I mean, playing as much as I could until I was 23. So 12 to 23, I was basically a baseball robot, and that was like my strict focus. That's all I cared about. That's all I put in pretty much most of my time and focus into. So
yeah, it's a lot of energy and a lot of I mean, it takes a ton, especially when you focus in on that sport, and a lot of swings, a lot of batting practice.
But yeah, I mean, as you know, being a skier and being a competitive skier, you know, from a young age, obviously you competed at a young age to into your 20s. I mean, you know, the time and effort that it takes to be successful per se, and to get to a higher level, into the next level, into the next level. And I mean, it teaches you a lot, man. It teaches you a lot about discipline, teaches you a lot about setting goals and going after them and putting in the work. I mean, being a college athlete and being a competitive skier at the level that you skied at, it's a full-time job, and you're not really getting paid for it. I mean, you're paying to do this stuff.
Right. No,
and,
for sure. I mean, do you think that helps kind of translate into some of the filmmaking and when you're going on hunts and things of that nature? Because I mean, you know, some of the different films you show, like the mountain ops discipline one that I mean, the amount of creativity and camera work and editing and all those things that go into it. I mean, it looks fantastic, and it looks like, you know, just seamless, like everything clicks, everything works together, music, all that fits, but like, it seems like it's a huge fucking ordeal to be able to figure out how to make everything mix and match, and there's a lot of hard work into the editing. I mean, I can't imagine what the editing process has got to be like. It's just, I feel like it goes over my head, you know, going in all that editing and all the different working. I mean, I'm super curious about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say all the hours and training and drill work, and to be a competitive athlete, it's always kind of like you're working on little things to achieve the big things.
Sure.
And you're setting small goals to achieve the big goals, whether, you know, you're doing, like you were saying, it's like hours spent hitting off the tee in the batting cage, just swing after swing after swing after swing, repetition after repetition after repetition, using kind of that mentality that baseball taught me, and being an athlete and putting in all that work and all that and having that discipline of what being an athlete taught me, transferring that into my career. I mean, it made that post athlete depression, which is like a serious thing. A lot of people go through it. It's a real thing. So it's like, yeah, when, especially, you know, when you're a serious athlete from when you're 12 to 23, and that's all you focus on, and that's over. A lot of people are just kind of like, what now? What do I do now?
Yep.
There's always like twiddling thumbs. Luckily, like I always had that same passion and effort for carrying a camera around as what I had for being an athlete. So when I was done being a baseball player, it's kind of like, okay, if I take the same daily mentality, same work ethic, same discipline I had as an athlete to my career, sky's the limit, right? I mean, so yeah, that definitely helped me transition from being an athlete to my career, and putting in all those hours, doing what I do. Because like you said, a lot of people, you know, see these little, like a minute-long Instagram video, that's 40 hours of editing. 30-second little video you see, that who knows how long that could take. And you know, I'd say the editing side of things, and of my line of work of video production, even photography, editing photos, this and that, it's a lot of sitting an inch from the screen and little clicks and this and that. And, you know, if you sat over my shoulder, you'd be like, what are you doing? What is going on? And it's definitely a process. It melts a lot of brain cells and a lot of time and effort, but it's always worth it. You know, once you see it come to fruition. It's like going from like being a painter or a drawer, you go from a blank canvas to seeing it come to fruition. Same thing, you know, you're sitting down in the edit bay and you see a project timeline go from blank to a full-fledged film. I mean, there's nothing like it once you press export and you see it go out to the public. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. So kind of going into that a little bit more, like one of the things I'm always curious about, like you go out on these 2-week hunting expeditions or trips, and you're out there, and how much camera gear do you have to be able to, because I mean, everyone has their bow hunting equipment. Like if you're going in for an elk hunt or something and you got to pack in, you know, 10, 15 miles to where you're going. I mean, how much gear do you have to travel with? I mean, can you travel lightly? I mean, what's the charging situations like? I mean, you know, is everything solar? Like how the hell does that work? You can't plug anything in.
Oh man, it's heavy. And checking bags isn't cheap. So usually, I just got back from a film trip out on the East Coast of Virginia.
Okay.
And I think we had like 5 Pelicans, like 3 of the huge ones, and yeah, all overweight, all not cheap. But like if you were to say, if we're going out on a 2-week elk hunt, and basically, you know, as a hunter, usually your pack is around like 50 pounds starting, because I mean you got water, layers, shelter, obviously your whatever weapon you're using, a rifle or bow, all your layers, all your gear, all this, and that's usually about 50 pounds. And same thing as a camera gear, I'm carrying all of that. Just my weapon is the camera, and you know, the cameras that we use are the big red cinema cameras, so those are like 40 pounds, fully rigged up. You're carrying extra lenses, extra batteries. Batteries are like 5 to 5 pounds, depending on what you're using them. So basically, we're packing. You try to stay as light as possible, but you have to have the right gear, and you have to be pretty dialed with what you're doing to make sure you capture what you need to capture. It really all depends on the project and what you're doing. If we're doing a full-fledged film production, you know, usually we'll have a few guys, and you have one guy running still camera with all his gear, and they have a video guy running, you know, kind of his, usually 1 to 2 camera ops, and then
so
audio guy. I mean, it really depends on the level of production.
Okay, so like a big production, it's usually like three guys that are kind of working. You would so you have an audio guy, 2 other guys in there, and how like you have that big of a production. And the one thing I'm like super curious, how do you stay quiet in the woods? like there's so many people in like in the woods there, and there's so much like noise and like move. Like I know when I go hunting with it's just two people, and it's like Jesus Christ, we're making so much noise right now. Like it's crazy to me that there
Mhm.
that many, you know, that many warriors in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically you're a hunter as well. You're just carrying a camera. I mean, you especially filming bow hunting. I mean, you're sneaking around. You're right over the guy's shoulder. You're basically in the hunter's back pocket, and you're doing everything that they do, just carrying a camera, and you're capturing it. And it all takes kind of repetition. And the first few hunts that I filmed, I barely knew what I was doing, and carrying too much gear, and and you're hauling these huge cameras and this and that, and like you say, you're trying to be quiet, and you're trying not to mess up the hunt for the hunter, but you're trying to do your job and capture what needs to be captured. It's quite the process. But yeah, like I said, it really depends on the trip. I mean, one trip that stands out to me is we did a 12-day backcountry. I mean, we were like 120 miles in the backcountry in northern British Columbia on a moose and caribou hunt. So you fly into the most northern part of British Columbia, drive 2 hours north of there, and then you float plane in 2 hours north of there.
Wow.
End up being about 120 miles from the nearest road, and then you're going horseback for I think the outfitter had like 3 million acres or something that we were hunting through, and you're carrying, like, I probably had $20,000-$30,000 on my back in camera gear, plus all my survival equipment, and you're on horseback, and it's a rodeo, and you're trying not to break anything, you're trying not to die, you're trying not to get eaten by a grizzly bear. It's you get into some wacky stuff as a camera guy, plain and simple. But that's kind of the fun part of what I do is you get to go on some wild adventures and capture some really cool stuff, some interesting people.
Yeah, I mean the people have to also like make the trip, right? You're going
Hmm.
up, and if you go up with some people that are not that fun or not that interesting, that can make it a long 12 days. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's kind of what, and maybe people get confused on kind of what it is to make hunting films and this and that, and kind of the stigma of what I do is, it's a fat guy sitting in a tree stand whispering to a camera, waiting to just kill something. And that's not necessarily what we do. Really, like you said, it's the people who make it. And usually, the goals of our films and what we do is to tell a story of, because every hunter has a story, every person has a story, every day of the hunt is a story, every trip is a different story, and that's really what we focus on, is the storytelling aspect. Because many people, like when you're going out in 120 miles in the backcountry, British Columbia, and you're flipping horses and you're running into grizzly bears, you're getting surrounded by wolves, and you have weather and this and that. I mean, it's a whole adventure aspect
yeah, absolutely.
of it, and that's what we want to capture. It's not just killing animals. It's the adventure, it's the camaraderie, it's the whole process in the grind of what a hunt is, to harvest an animal and harvest this meat to bring back to your family, and this whole process of what it means to be a hunter. And it's all, there's just, you can dive so deep into it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I said, it's not just, going out and killing stuff, and there's like that redneck
Yeah.
stigma of what it means to be a hunter, and that's what us as creatives in the outdoor industry are really trying to fix, that stigma of what it is. Because we're not in it just to go out and kill something. We're in it for the adventure and the process, in meeting interesting people and go interesting places. And
Right.
if you come home with a bunch of meat to feed your family, that's just a bonus.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's always one of those things. I mean, I would say most of the time, you usually don't get something,
Hmm.
you know, especially, hunting on public land and stuff like that. I mean, it's usually 9 out of 10 times you're walking home empty handed, or, something goes wrong. And it's always one of those things that, at least growing up for me, like getting into hunting from my grandparents have always bow hunted and always been in the woods. And it was never about getting something. It was always
Hmm.
about just being in with nature. I mean, I always thought when I was younger, when I was really little, like 6, 7, it was always scared. Like I was, you're walking you get up at an ungodly hour and you're walking into the
Yeah.
woods and you're like, what the
Hmm.
fuck is going on? Everything looks like a bear or something that's going to eat you. And you're just like, following grandparents into the woods. And next thing you
Hmm.
sit there And when I was really little, I would just go to sleep. You know, I'd wake up 9, 10 o'clock and be like, oh, we're done.
Why hasn't something happened yet? Like what?
Exactly. Like, what did I miss? Okay, all right.
But as you get older, and the more times you spend out in the woods, the more times you spend pursuing different animals and pursuing different things, it turns into more of the process of, like you said, of just being out in the woods. And I think I'm at my best and the best person I can be when I'm spending time out in the mountains and out in the woods. And the amount of time that you spend out of cell service, waking up at ungodly hours and through sufferfest of weather and grizzly bears and whatever, I mean, that's when you feel the most alive and you start really thinking about stuff that matters. You know, like
Right.
when you're spending 12 days out of cell service, 120 miles in the backcountry, you're not going to be sitting on your phone scrolling Instagram. You're not going to be sitting there worrying about emails and worrying about this and that. All you're worried about is where you are at that time. And man, that's where you get some really deep thinking done. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, and the appreciation factor. You know, I think you just appreciate all the things that you like, just the natural beauty that's out there, right? Like when you go out, and I always enjoy those like morning hunts when everything's still asleep and you get to watch it come to life. Like, you know, the squirrels, birds, nothing's making a sound. You get in, you kind of find your spot, and then you kind of just slowly watch everything come awake as the sun starts to come up. And I mean, there's so much beauty, and it really just makes you appreciate it, whether you know, get something or not. You know,
Yeah.
It's just nice to be out there, and it does allow you the times to think. I mean, you know, I got plenty of time to think about getting married the last few, you know, right before the wedding coming up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, plenty of time to think about it, and knew it was a good call.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
no, it's one of those. I mean, you get so much time in there, and it's really it's good. It's good for the soul, right? Wouldn't you
Yeah,
say?
for people who spend you know, mass amounts of time out in the woods and up in the mountains. I mean, you can just the perspective on life, the perspective switch, rather than like wake up, alarm goes off, get in your car, get in traffic, get cut off, go to work, get pissed off at your boss, go back, scroll Instagram, go to bed, do it again. I mean, it's just like, it's so easy, especially 2020, to get into that routine, that BS daily routine of just go. And I think more people need to spend more time out in the woods. Like that's what I always say. It's like, for people who are on social media and the Facebook keyboard warriors and blowing up about politics and blowing up about this, like, man, if you got way too much time on your hands to be doing that, you need to go out and find some hobbies, go outside.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, they also, you know, one of the main things they say that are so important, like about traveling, like going on vacations and things like that, because it gets you out of that routine, right? It gets you out of that schedule. It gets you kind of off your platform, and you're uncomfortable. You're not in your usual kind of comfort zone. And whether it's just going on vacation to someplace you usually don't travel. But I think the same thing is like hunting. You know, if you go out in the woods, it's not your normal schedule, and you have no idea what's going to happen. You could have an amazing day. You could miss a shot. You could, I mean, there's so many different variables and things of that nature. I mean, I think it's so important to be able to go out there, and it's just nice to be outside too.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, you hit the nail in the coffin right there. And I mean, that's kind of how being a baseball player, baseball is one of the like highest failure sports there is. I mean, if you are successful 3 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you're constantly learning how to fail and constantly learning how to overcome, you know, because you could strike out 3 times, but then you could come up in the 9th inning and win the game for your team. It's the same thing, kind of taking that same mentality to what I do and being a hunter and spending time outside. It's like so much stuff goes wrong. I mean, whether it's weather changes or you blow an animal out or it's just a grind. I mean, the amount of days that I spend out in the mountains and nasty weather and this and that, I mean, you're carrying $40,000 camera gear in places that really shouldn't. Stuff breaks, stuff goes wrong, and it's just constantly learning how to overcome that, and it's a constant puzzle, and you're just trying to figure out how to problem solve through it, and it teaches you a lot about life.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, speaking to that, and speaking about the, you know, those teaching and kind of learning moments about life and figuring all that out, like how do you capture the moment, right? How do you go in, you're 12 days on horse, like you're doing all this different shit. how are you able to capture that moment? Like, what is the thought process when you're going in and trying to figure that out? How do you capture it?
And then, yeah, going back to kind of what I was talking about earlier, is changing that stigma of what hunters are.
Hmm.
And that is kind of one of my main goals, and what, the people that I work with, is some of our main goals, is because if you go back and if you turn on the outdoor channel from, I mean, even today, I'm not knocking on the outdoor channel, I kind of am though, but any hunting TV show, you turn on the outdoor channel from now, rewind 10, 15, 20 years ago, it's
Yep.
a guy sitting there whispering into a camera, sitting in a tree stand. He shoots something, whoa, we got him, this and that. And it's just like, that's what people see as what hunters are, but that isn't what hunters are. And so some of our main goals of what we want to capture is, it's not just killing stuff. It's not just taking an animal's life. It's not just that. It's capturing the sunrises. It's capturing the hiking. It's capturing the camaraderie in camp. It's capturing certain stories, because there's so many unique people that you get to spend time with out in the woods, and diving into their backstory of things that they've gone through and things that they've done and this and that. It's more about the storytelling aspect. And if you come back with an animal, that's just a bonus. But if not, it's capturing the process. And what we want to capture it, and how we want to capture it, is in more of a cinematic way, and putting it together with music and as a film style. And where I get a lot of inspiration from is from ski movies. Like I said, growing up, being inspired by all these ski movies and seeing how that they were putting together, capturing the travel, capturing the behind the scenes stuff. It's not just stoke reel, and all the everything great. You want to capture the whole process, and that's what gets people really into it. So basically, kind of what really keeps me going and how I want to capture it is taking ski movie style of filmmaking, the high pace and the creative filmmaking aspect, and bringing it to the outdoor world, which there really hasn't been a ton of. Like I said, it's really been a guy sitting in camo whispering to a camera, oh, we're 15 yards from him, blah 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 blah. And
Right.
people don't necessarily want to sit and watch that. You want to, like, my goal is, I want to be able to capture stuff and make films and videos and capture what it means to be a hunter and what it means to spend time in the woods. And I want it to be so your grandma can watch it and be intrigued the whole time, or your vegan cousin can watch it and be like, okay, there's something to this that I didn't quite understand,
Yeah, kind of take people on a little bit of a journey rather than just a 10-second cutout of, all right, here he comes, he's 10 yards.
Yeah.
Out, here we go. Yeah. No, I mean that, and the films you've done so far, I mean, have been all the stuff you sent to me of just unbelievable footage. I don't know how you go through. Like you said, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of editing, and things of that nature. It's crazy to watch the films you've come up with. They've been awesome so far. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you got to keep up I'm excited to see the content from Virginia. It sounds like that'll be
no, that one's gonna be an interesting one. I mean, speaking of kind of the storytelling aspect, I can't give too many details about this, but basically we're capturing, it's a couple, and they're hunters and foragers, and they're professional chefs out of Washington D.C. And I mean, they hunt, fish, forage, everything that goes into their recipes and what they're bringing to the table, and the amount of work and effort that they put in to feed themselves, let alone a bunch of people, is really, really impressive. And it really showcases what it means to go from field to plate, and to really bring the whole aspect of what it means to be a hunter.
That's cool. That sounds really cool. Look forward. Keep me in the loop. Let me know on that thing. So speaking of that though, like how long will it take you to edit? So you did like a 7-day hunt, and then you got to have an insane amount of footage, and you'll cut it into, so you cut it into an hour, right? Or however long the feature is supposed to be, and you have all this content. I mean, how long is that editing process?
Oh man, it really depends. I'd say for this project specifically, it'll be about 8 days of total hunt time, production time out in the field. And then as for edit hours, I mean, you're sitting probably 100+ hours of sitting on a computer and editing that together. Because really how it's put together is, you have the main film piece, probably about half hour to 45 minutes, and then you're breaking down teasers, social media posts, this and that. That's going to be kind of trickle down off of that. And it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, you're basically going through the editing process is capturing the footage, organizing the footage, labeling the footage, laying it out into a timeline and chopping up the shots that you're going to use. And you start color correcting, you start fixing up the audio, diving in. I mean, honestly, ask any video editor, the most time that is usually spent in the whole process just finding a darn song to use that's royalty free and that matches what you're trying to do. I mean, the hours that I spend just sitting there like this, just trying to find, like listening to libraries and libraries and libraries of royalty free music and trying to find something that'll fit is a grind. And then you find your music and you start kind of laying stuff out. Cause I mean, that's kind of how I work, is sometimes, you know, as a creative, you can hear a song and that sparks like I can hear a song and then I will see a video play out to that song. And then you're like, okay, let's rock to that. And I mean, everybody who's a creative kind of gets inspired in different ways. So
kind of
it's definitely a process.
So like first priority for you when you're trying to come up and with that is like, all right, what's going to be my song for, whether it's the teaser or whatever else that's going to be. You kind of work from there and then you're able to fill in footage.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, you can go even farther back to that. Like for these bigger projects with our team, you know, we have a full-fledged team of guys who are directing, producing, directors of photography, our audio guys, our this and that. And so it goes into the whole pre-production factor of it is, you know, you're storyboarding, you're building out shot lists, you're scouting locations, you're pitching to clients. Once you have your client, you're dealing with financials, you're doing this and that. And it's a like, I'd say counting pre-production hours, add into the post-production hours and the whole project, man, it is probably like 200 plus hours to make a 30-minute long piece. And then, I mean, that's just in our space. Like, I couldn't even imagine what it goes into to create a full-fledged Netflix feature film. I mean, when you can just watch the credits and see how many people are involved. I mean, it's everyone has a key role in it. So it's nice having a crew. Whereas I kind of come from a background, a freelance background of kind of doing everything and wearing all the hats, having to shoot the photos, flip it into video mode, shooting the video, editing the photos, producing, directing, and it's a whole process. I'm thankful that, you know, struggling to get to where I am today, having to wear all those hats and kind of learn the whole process. Now I can kind of help wherever needs help.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how much does it help to have that experience and, you know, kind of doing it all on your own, and now you have a little bit more of a team like that's got to make the process a little bit easier on you, and you can kind of just work on directing, right? Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I mean, I'm very thankful to kind of come from how I started, which was shooting stuff for free or shooting stuff just for fun. I mean, like I said, I grew up just following my buddies skiing with a camera, and I just legitimately just enjoyed making videos and putting it together and just seeing people light up when they would watch it back. And that's what kind of kept me going. And so coming from that background to just keep pushing and having more tools and having more people, more hands on deck, it really allows me as a creative to build up into these bigger projects and bigger productions. And I mean, now we're producing music videos, we're doing full-fledged films, we're doing this and that. And it's, you know, it's really cool to see from where it started to see it come to fruition, not just with me, but with my whole crew. We're all just kind of these ragtag kids that didn't go to film school. We just enjoyed the creative process and running around with cameras and getting dirty. And to see it come to what we're doing now, it's pretty interesting to see it come full circle.
No, that's awesome. So what helps you like stay focused on those everyday priorities? Because I mean, you say there's 200 hours, you know, if you're doing a 30-minute film, let's use that as the example, 200 hours, or, you know, what helps you stay focused every day? Like, do you checklist it out? Like, okay, I got to get everything done, boom, boom, boom. Or how do you kind of organize and keep track of everything that you need to get done?
I think, like I was talking about earlier, from the athlete mentality of setting those small goals and tackling small daily goals to reach the bigger goals. And I mean, if you're hitting a small checklist and your daily priorities, you're going to reach those big goals. And so I think a lot of people will get especially in my field, when you have a huge project like that kind of looming over you,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to get overwhelmed. It's easy to get lost in the process of it. But if you, just, I like to just take day by day and just focus. Okay, today I need to lay out all my footage, and I need to cut to day 1 out of day 12, and just start there and just crank and crank and crank little by little to get to the bigger project and to get to the bigger goals. And I think that's important to do. It's like I said, it's really easy to get caught in the process of it all, but keeping it simple and just keeping that daily discipline, which is hard for a lot of people, but just using those small goals to tackle it.
So you think, at least for you, like having those small goals daily kind of keeps you disciplined and keeps you focused on reaching that the eventual like deadline of when you got to have everything done.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, any creative can kind of attest to this. I mean, motivation and creative drive and inspiration comes in waves. I mean, there's some days where I'm sitting there listening to 200 hours of music and I won't get anything done. And then some days I'll edit a full film in a day. And so it definitely comes in waves, but and it's just using those waves to gain momentum and try to stay on track.
Mm-hmm. So when you're out what would you say makes for like successful filming when you're out on location or kind of off in the woods or in Virginia, like different spots you've been, Alaska, like what when you're out there and you're trying to capture everything, like what helps you stay successful when you're out there and kind of stay on target?
It's setting it, like for us specifically, is setting kind of like a daily, everyone has like a daily checklist. We have a daily like shot list. It's like, okay, I need to get a wide angle of this. I need to get a drone shot of this, get some macro shots of this. And I like to split it down into little sequences. So it's like if it's a morning scene, I'll get the sunrise, time lapse, sun comes up, get a drone shot over the woods, and you just start breaking it down to there. Okay, I go a wide, medium, close shot, and I just start breaking that down into each different scenario that we're in and just keeping it moving. And that kind of, like I said, it's just kind of keeping it simple and keeping it small, which leads to those bigger, successful in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I'd say as a successful shoot is coming through after a day in the woods of having a handful of successful sequences that flow together, that can tell a story properly. If I can sit at the end of the day and, okay, this told today's story the way it should have, then I can feel content with it.
Right. What's like your favorite moment when you're going through and you're a part of that, whether it's in the editing process or while you're out there in the woods? I mean, what is your like aha, like, damn, I really crushed that shot. I made that look really good.
I'd say like the aha moment is when you press export at the very end.
Just the export.
You get lost in the sauce during the whole process and grinding and doing this and rolling and filming everything and putting it together. But once you press export, like that is the aha moment of like the deep breather, like, okay, I did what I had to do, export, we're putting it out for the world to see. But I like being dirty. I like being up in the mountains. I like being in it, and I like being, out in these crazy locations, get my ass kicked and hauling camera gear up and down the mountain, getting rained on and just getting my ass beat day in, day out. I mean, that's kind of the fun part of working in the outdoor industry. I mean, whether it's shooting ski movies or shooting hunting films or fly fishing or whatever, I mean, it's a grind of waking up at ungodly hours and hiking and process and camera gear failing and stuff breaking. And it's type 2 fun. It's suffering with your buddies. And that's why a lot of us do what we do. I mean, you enjoy getting your ass beat with your buddies, because during it might suck. Like when I was in BC, we all got Gerardia and I saw horses flipping on top of people. I got bucked off my horse 3 times. We got surrounded by 2 packs of wolves. We were in grizzly bears every day. I mean, it's I couldn't tell you how many times I nearly died. But during it, you're like, oh shit, man, like this is wild. Like this is, we're in it. But now when you're looking back and you rewatch that footage and you relook at those photos, it brings you back into that moment and you're like, man, I'll go through that again tomorrow. Let's go. It's the stuff that keeps you coming back.
Yeah, keeps you coming back for more. So what do you think your future in it is? I mean, what's your plans looking forward? I mean, how many you got to travel all the time? I mean, you constantly kind of going on the road. Is now kind of grind season with hunting season is upon us, right? I mean, I guess it
Hmm.
started about a couple months ago. What, August? I think it was August 13th for you.
Yep.
August 15th is when
Hmm.
archery started. So where do you go from here?
Yeah, fall's grind time. I mean, basically, I have a little bit of a break right now, but really during the fall for all of us, we're on the road every week, and it's constantly going on different trips. I mean, it's like you said, starting in archery season in August through archery goes from August, September, and October. That goes into rifle season. That leads into waterfowl season. That leads into the deer rut, which leads into December,
Hmm.
January, and I mean it's basically we're grinding from August till December, kind of on the road, nonstop. And then come wintertime, it's sitting on the computer and it's edit hours. And then, I mean, like I said, we don't just do hunting content. I mean, we're working on ski stuff. We're working on ice climbing stuff. We've worked with ultra runners. We
Hmm.
produce music videos. We're working this and that. I mean, it's really nonstop, but the fall is really crazy. So
Yeah.
as for our future, um, we don't want to just be the hunting guys. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
we want to be able to bring that high quality production value and showcase this new view on what it is to be a hunter and to the process of that. But we also, we want to do full length films, whether it's in the outdoor space or not,
Hmm.
and just keep kind of growing and growing into these bigger productions and just keeping the needle moving.
Yeah. No, it's cool to be able to branch out, and you mean you have the skiing background, and I got plenty of skiers for you that I'm sure would love to do edits and everything else that would keep your winter
Yeah,
extremely busy. So
that's one of my main goals. Like I said, is like I didn't really I didn't grow up a hunter. I didn't grow up um, doing this. I was a baseball robot, and so really like skiing and ski filmmaking was always my motivator. And like that is one of my huge goals is to go back to that. Is
mhm.
to bring it full circle. Now that we've built as a team, we've built a resume and we have these cameras and have all this experience. Like we want to bring that into the ski space and do what I what I know how to do. It's like
Yeah,
growing up, being in the mountains with my buddies, skiing around and dumping cameras in the snow and capturing the stoke of what it means to be a skier and day out. Like that's what we want to capture and that's what we want to do. So that's a big goal of mine is to produce a ski film and produce something like that.
yeah, for sure. You'll definitely continue to have those opportunities. That's for sure.
Hmm.
So, speaking a little bit, as you were talking about all the trials and tribulations, getting bucked off your horse, and all those different things, breaking cameras, breaking camera lenses. I mean, just the different shit that goes into any kind of film. I mean, just talk a little bit to the perseverance you kind of need, because it's one of those things you learn so much about. I'm sure you did through baseball. I have through skiing. I mean, you don't have great days all the time, and
Yeah.
everything's not puppies and rainbows. And I think that that's a little bit harder to find, especially social media and Instagram and everything else. Everyone's getting the best angle or the
Yeah.
best shot, right? And
Hmm.
they don't really want to show off the side of, man, I look like shit today. Then we're not going to show that photo. We're not going to show, being down in the dumps. Everything's happy go lucky, and kind of just talk a little bit to the perseverance it kind of takes.
Yeah, no, like the perseverance, like I learned it at a young age, kind of through
Mm-hmm.
my family situation and through a lot of the issues that my family went through as a kid. I mean, I had both of my parents. My mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was about 7 years old, and then my dad was also diagnosed with the disease when I was 13. And my mom was paralyzed. My dad is still struggling with the disease, and kind of seeing like that's where I really learned that how to adjust to adversity and push through and learn perseverance and drive. And because seeing my parents struggle like that with such a terrible disease and battling through that day in day out, I mean that's what pushed me as an athlete. That's what continues to push me as in my career doing what I do today, day in day out. Because it's like, man, if my mom is bedridden in a wheelchair and in pain, like dude, when I'm out on a mountain, I'm struggling carrying a camera, doing what I love. It's like, you won't hear me bitching about it. Like, I always think back to that. Same thing, what helped me be a successful athlete was, you know, if you're having a bad game, it's like, I'm playing baseball. Like, I get to play baseball.
Right.
I get to climb this mountain. I get to get my ass kicked. I choose to do this because there's so many worse things out there in the world that people go through. And I always think back to that. Like, that is where I learned that daily grind and how to just push through adversity and adjust to it. Cause like, man, life's hard, but you don't have to make it that hard.
Yeah. No, I mean, that really has to kind of put things in perspective of what's
Yeah.
really important and what you really want to go out and kind of chase after and not just go through the motions.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, I don't think a lot of people, especially in 2020 with, you know, coronavirus and all the issues that are going on in the world, it's kind of maybe for a lot of people, it's their first real eye opener to adversity. Like, oh, darn. Like, you hear people wanting, oh, I can't go to the bar. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's like, dude, there's a lot worse things in this life that people go through than you worrying about not being able to go hang out at the bar with your buddies. You know, there's a lot worse things out there that people push through.
No, I mean, kind of, it's crazy to think, you know, how much things have kind of changed. And if this is our big perseverance, you know, I mean, I remember a few months ago that the big thing was our generation just has to sit on the couch and stay inside. Right?
Yeah, darn.
I remember seeing that. It was like World War II and everything else, and we just have to, you know, stay, and we can, apparently.
Yeah.
Can't seem to do it. Can't seem to wear masks. So at least, I don't know, Utah's numbers continue to go up. We just hit like 1,400, I think, a couple days ago.
Yikes.
Yep, exactly. I mean, Montana doesn't have that many people. Well, Bozeman does, I guess. You know, Bozeman's like California East now, right?
Oh man, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different world now. But no, it's like Montana's we hit like 1 million people like 6 years ago in the whole state. So we're professional at social distancing. It's kind of why you come to Montana.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, it was interesting to what you're saying about being up in the woods, you know, on your own hunts, and just how crazy busy how packed it is, how many you know, kind of different people you're dealing with, and that's gotta increase the difficulty hunting. I mean, tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to call in elk and you're calling in people, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not in the right spot. But that's, you know, you got to appreciate people. Like I said, it's like, I don't own this land. I don't own you know, I don't control who's out there. I love to see people out there. I love to see people spending time in the woods. And like I said, I think more people need to spend time in the woods because they'll have a better perspective on life and everything. And I mean, it just turns you into a better person. So I can't knock these people who are out doing it. Yeah, it's frustrating when they're doing it where I'm doing it, but you know, kudos to them for out grinding and doing what we do too. So it's everybody's land. It's everyone's opportunity to go and do this. I mean, that's the fun part of it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, kind of talking about that is that it's also it's nice to have the right people kind of bring you into it, whether you've never known about it before or anything. I mean, luckily for me, like I said, my grandparents were always into it, and I was never really that into it, I would say, until I was probably 23 or 24 when I was back. It was actually after I blew out my knee, and I was rehabbing my ACL, and I took some time in the spring to go see my grandparents back in New York. And I had always been like, yeah, I'll go sit in the woods with my grandfather. He loved it. And I would just sit there and just kind of watch and be in the woods with him. And this time around it was turkey season, and he was like, you know, do you want to go up and, you know, go up in the woods? Like, yeah, sure. And it turned into, I was going hunting. I wasn't going to go watch him hunting. I was like, okay, this is different than what I was planning on doing, but that's, you know, like, that's fine. And had an absolute blast. And turkey hunting, I mean, you know, it's a poor man's elk hunting, right? That's definitely the way it's so exciting. And so, you know, you get that back and forth kind of calling to be able to call it in. And there's something about it that was awesome. And I was like, okay, like, I need to put more effort in and spend more time kind of in the woods, because I felt great after doing it, and it helped. I feel like it helped with my rehab and helped with,
Yeah.
kind of, as you talk about putting things in perspective. So it kind of helped with all that. I was like, all right, like I need to spend some more time out here. And
Yeah. And I mean, that's like what I said earlier. And I think most people can attest to this is, like, that's the best rehab. That's the best medication. That's the best. I mean, it just does good for the soul. I mean, especially like going through adversity as an athlete, going through an injury, the uncertainties of what's going to happen next. I mean, to be able to put all that on pause and just focus on being out there in the woods with your granddad and just spend time with him. And I mean, that's the stuff that you're going to remember years ahead. And like those moments that you got to share with him. I mean, that's why people do it.
yeah, no, absolutely. So kind of, as you touched on a little bit earlier, I mean, who are some of those people that have mentored and really kind of helped you along, that have kind of shaped where you are, and whether that's in filmmaking or just in life in general?
I'd say my parents. Like I said earlier, is seeing both of my parents go through so much pain and battling a disease day in, day out, and just like coming together as a family to push through all of what that was. I mean, seeing my mom go from just being diagnosed to a cane to a wheelchair to being bedridden and then ultimately passing away from such a terrible disease. And then my dad also getting it and battling it. Man, like they taught me grit. They taught me what it means to be mentally tough, to push through these real life issues that, I had to. I mean, they taught me what it means to be a man at a young age, and I'll forever be thankful for that. So going through those adversities at such a young age and seeing how my dad interacted with my mom and just the sheer love and compassion to battle through that together is what I carry with me every single day doing what I do. So, I mean, that push to get through this and get through that, I mean, that's why I'm here today, is seeing how they could just overcome so much. And especially my mom, I mean, it's such a terrible disease and in pain like that. And she always had a smile on her face, was always positive. It was never about her, just the most selfless person ever. And I try to carry that with me, whether I'm struggling with something or, getting my ass kicked on a mountain, or things are going poorly at work. I mean, just to always carry that positivity. Cause like I said, for a lot of people, maybe haven't gone through adversity, like maybe a shitty day is you wake up and you step in dog shit and, like, oh, this sucks. And then you get stuck in traffic. Oh, this sucks. Or, oh, I didn't get 100 likes on my Instagram photo. That sucks. But it's like, really like what's the real, is this an issue? Is this really that big of a deal, when there's such a bigger picture out there? And I learned that bigger picture at a young age. So really my mom and dad were the people that, and my family as a whole, to come together and push through such terrible times and make it through.
Yeah, no, that's awful. I mean, it sounds like they also taught you a lot about like attitude, right? I mean, it's one of the things that definitely I've learned from my parents, is that's the only thing that you can really control is your attitude towards the situation. Like, attitude is everything.
Yeah, all you can, day in, day out, all you can control is attitude and effort.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, no, they taught me, like I said, man, it's like when you see someone you love go through so much pain and so much struggle, they taught me the no woe is me attitude, the no poor me attitude, because there's a lot of other people out there that are going through things way worse.
Yeah.
So that's what carried me through being an athlete. I get to go to practice. I get to train. I get to do this and do that. I get to. I think more people need that mentality of I get to, not I have to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, without question. I mean, right now everyone seems to be just want to argue about something or troll somebody on Twitter or whatever it is. It seems we're as divided as we have ever been. At least as long as I've been alive, we've been pretty.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree.
Right? So, have you? What would you say you've kind of learned to take into your own kind of like hunting aspects? What kind of tips have you kind of picked up along the way? Because you've been in the woods with some pretty sweet people that definitely know what they're doing, and I was just kind of curious because you know, all of the hunting I've done out here with my grandparents and stuff like that, we always take the East Coast because that's where they're, you know, from New York. They always hunt out of a blind. You know, I've never done any stock hunting or anything like that. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what have you kind of learned just through those different experiences?
I've learned that everyone has different tactics. I've learned that not everyone hunts the same. Not everyone has the same tactics and approach to different situations. I mean, there's, especially elk hunting, everybody calls different. Everyone has different ways of interacting with the animal. I mean, some people are completely sneak mode and creep into them and spot and stalk mode. Some people are calling, breaking shit, wake up the woods till you get them fired up and get them in your lap. And it's that's kind of the fun part of meeting all these different people and their different backgrounds of hunting and getting to experience different ways and different places. Because, you know, I've hunted in New Zealand for stag and fallow deer and tahr, and they hunt completely different than, say, someone hunts elk out here in Montana. And Sika deer in Virginia, you can call and they bugle and you call them back and forth, and it's like elk hunting on a beach in the woods, and they have like the same tactics as how we approach elk hunting out here. It's really unique, but all in all, like, everyone has just like that same level of just wanting to get in and grind every day and just enjoy the process of it.
Was going to, I mean, New Zealand, that had to be a unique, that had to be a different, just completely different way of hunting. I mean, watching the footage and everything, I mean, it was really pretty, obviously nice job well done. I mean, it looked awesome, but it's just, I feel like there are times where the camera can't do it justice, you know, of how pretty and unique and interesting those kind of hunts are, you know, to be, I mean, for
dangerous.
have you ever been to, was that your first time kind of going down there?
Yeah, it was my first time in New Zealand, and getting to capture that, I mean, we're hunting in the Southern Alps of New Zealand. I mean, it's basically where they filmed Lord of the Rings. So a camera will never do the justice of the Southern Alps and how nasty the terrain is, and the sheer weather, getting snowed on. Like, I about slid 60 yards to my death, self-arrested on grass, carrying a $20,000 camera. I mean, it's just like, the camera, I don't think the camera ever does justice. I mean, that's kind of like my job, is to try to get it to that point. But especially in a place like that, I mean, it's the terrain is so extreme and steep, and the animals are so, I mean, hunting tahr in the Southern Alps, it's just like, when you say that, you're like, okay, that just doesn't even sound real. And seeing these animals, I mean, skirt up walls of shale rock like nothing, and as we're sliding and making all sorts of noise and trying not to roll down the mountain, it's just like, it's a whole different world out there. And that's just hunting in the mountains, period. You know, whether the places that these animals live that you have to climb into and sneak into is just incredible country, either way, no matter what, wherever you are.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, watching, I mean, that's a bunch of the fun stuff. Like, I think you need to do like a few different videos of just like outtakes, you know, just all the leftover, where all this, like, you should do your own, maybe it's all of it like mashed together. That's just like when shit goes wrong.
Yeah.
And you just have
that's what people really need to see, is like flipping horses on top of people and getting Gerardia and dude, yeah, it's I've seen some stuff.
Well, I mean, it's like that's like one of the favorites of those ski movies, though, you know, like
the crash reel,
Poor Boys, the crash reel, you know, like I think the first Poor Boys I really loved. Do you remember 13?
13, yeah, I have that one.
Yeah,
I have a stack of ski movies this high. I think I have every single PGR Poor Boys level 1 movie ever made.
Yeah, I don't have that. Well, what about Warren? I mean, Warren Miller. Did you have?
He's classic. Yeah, he's classic. But I guess maybe I'm a little too new age. I thought his narration and stuff was a little boring. So that's where I got into like.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I remember one of the first ski movies that like ever really hooked me. Probably the first ski movie I ever bought was Salad Days by Teton Gravity.
Okay.
And that one definitely got me going. But then Session 1242, Poor Boys, it was like Team Oakley ski movie, and then like I would watch that every single day before going skiing, and that would just make me go nuts. Like, I might have sucked, but I would blow my carcass up all day and night after watching that.
No, it was really good. That was they used to come out. I mean, Poor Boys would have a new movie they would pop out. Like, they started to come out with like 2 a year. It used to be one because it was like 13. Then they had like Propaganda, The Game. They had
Yep.
like a bunch of those early ones, and now there's like, it's crazy how much that industry has kind of
Has
exploded, has changed, and now there's the whole aspect of, you have pro skiers that don't really do any competition, right? It's all just kind of, you get to go out and you get to do, you're kind of a pro filmer.
Yeah, you shoot a film and you put it on YouTube.
Exactly. Didn't used to really exist. And
yeah, I miss the old aspect of it, because really that's what really got me into filmmaking and carrying a camera around, was like that sheer anticipation of, like, they drop a teaser in the spring, and then you're waiting until October when that DVD is coming out in your local ski shop and you're going to buy it, or they premiere it in your local town, and just that whole, like, community aspect of bringing people together on a big screen and just getting people stoked. I mean, that's like, I really miss that. Which I get it. Everything's digital now, and everyone, it's easy for, you get a skier to go out with a film crew and capture a season and then throw it on YouTube, and you can reach a ton more people that way. But I do miss the old aspect of it.
Well, you'll have to bring it back, dude.
Mhm.
I think
there's absolutely nothing like putting together something that you worked so hard on and putting all that time and effort in, and then putting it on a big screen with a crowd to sit and enjoy it. I mean, that's like, there's absolutely nothing like that.
Yeah. I look forward to being at the premiere for the next one. Let me know. Yeah, I'll get plenty of ski buddies for you. Maybe we get, you get Carson in. We do a whole ski, hunting, fishing, just a whole outdoor. Because I got plenty of buddies that we could do extreme sports. We could do a whole series, man. It'd be pretty fun.
Do the washed up bump skier film.
Washed up bump skier, and then you break it into dirt biking, and we could do a 12 episode series that you.
Yeah, we could.
That's a lot of hours of editing for you, though. I don't want to put you through that much pain for not much content.
I'm used to it.
And 0 watchers.
That's the best stuff, though. That's the best stuff. Just dorking around with a camera with your buddies, man. I mean, that's why we still do it. And it's kind of. I try to do that as much as I can, because when you get stuck in the flow of carrying these huge cinema Hollywood level cameras around and just grinding and trying to put together the most cinematic and most epic stuff, it's like, how I started was just dorking around with my buddies, pressing record. So I try to kind of reel that back, and I think a lot of people who work in the creative industry need to reel back and remember why they continue to do it. Because I get lost in it. I get lost in the aspect of, like, okay, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta hit my deadlines, and what's the budget on this? Oh, it's not that big. Okay, we gotta grow bigger. We gotta do this. It's like, man, you get lost in the sauce a little bit. So it's important to reel it back and remember why you do what you love.
So is that kind of the advice you would have for some people if they're just starting out and they love filmmaking like you, and they're kind of just getting into it and trying to figure out, like, all right, I don't know how to put a film together. I don't know how to do that. I kind of just love it. Advice, especially in my field, anyone who carries a camera around and gets paid for it. I mean, it's a grind. It's a competitive field. It's, everyone's kind of, it's really, really competitive. Everyone trying to get, the most views and to get the more famous person or whatever, more brands involved, the biggest brands involved. But, my advice to someone is, people get too caught up in, like, oh, is this image perfect? Like, I got to edit this thing down so it's perfect and it's this and that, and spend hours and hours and hours. And then finally, I mean, just even for like an Instagram post or something, people just like obsess over it. And then they'll be like, oh, I only got 100 likes in the first 2 hours, and then they delete it. It's like, man, if you like what you do, if you enjoy it, and if you like what you just created, put it out there. Like all the other, because no matter what, you're not going to impress everyone. Not everyone's going to love your stuff. Like, if you like it, put it out there.
and always reel back in of why you do it, why you started in the beginning. And especially, I mean, for young kids that reach out to me, they're like, well, I'm not getting any clients, or I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And it's like, a lot of people don't understand. It's like, man, I shot so much stuff for free and ate so much shit for so long trying to get to this point, and no one makes it. And like, that's what I was gonna say is like, I haven't made it, but no one ever makes it. Like, right. What is making it? Mm-hmm. So it's continuing those daily things of, if you're a camera guy, go out and shoot stuff, and if you like it, put it out there and keep doing that, and someone's gonna take notice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good mentality too, that like no one if your mentality is no one makes it, Yeah,
no one makes it. There's no finish line.
There's no finish line. Like you got to keep grinding. You got to keep going out every day and doing your best, right?
Yeah, and that's in any field. It doesn't have to be a creative field. Sure. No matter what, whether you're an athlete or whatever. I mean, the sky's the limit. There's no finish line. There's like, just keep setting the goals as high as you possibly can, and bound to reach them. As long as you're putting in the daily work. Yeah, heck yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time, my man. Good luck with the rest of the hunting season. And for those out there, where can they look up some of the work? Is it just Muddy Shutter Media on Instagram, and then is that where they can, or just online?
Yep. So okay. Yeah, Muddy Shutter Media on Instagram. We've got a website coming. We're about to launch a new website, a new reel, and this and that. So yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Muddy Shutter Media. You can find me at Keith.Ailes, and yeah. We'll be out doing some wacky shit the next few months. So
looking forward to seeing it, man. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. Thanks, Bob.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little bell button so you get notified every time a new episode drops. Thanks.